Welcome to Property Lounge Ladies, where real estate meets real life. We're three women from different markets, different backgrounds, and different experiences coming together to talk about all things real estate, the wins, the challenges, and everything in between. Welcome back, everyone, to Property Lounge Ladies, and I am Paula Aponte here in Central Florida.
I'm Bianca Salas in the Metro DC area.
Hey, this is Carol down in Delaware.
Carol, what are we talking about today?
Agents, all things, especially new agents, like things you need to know, right? Things you need to know.
Yeah, or things they didn't tell you, right? Like when you got into real estate?
Right. Because here's the deal. You may have gotten your license, but I promise you don't know anything. Right? You don't know anything. Well, you know, like some of the, you don't know. So look, I got to tell you, here's a fun fact. Here is a fun fact. Do you know that there are agents that don't read the most basic information that is provided to them? So here's something all new agents need to understand. Please have the courtesy of reading the MLS and any information provided by the listing agent, because not all listing agents are proactive. So when you come across a listing agent who is proactive, you should appreciate that. Okay. Yesterday, I currently have a listing that is live on the market as of right this minute. This listing is live. It is in a situation where we're going to be on the market for 7 days, and we will not be reviewing any offers until after 7 days. So, there's been like a lot of showings. Tell me why, even though everything says do not lock the unit doors. Okay. Make sure the front door is locked, but do not lock the unit doors. These doors got locked. Listen, it gets better. Oh, it gets better. So what do? Being Carol, I physically go to the property. I take duct tape and I duct tape the back of the doorknobs so you can't even turn the lock. I put a sign on the inside of the door right above the doorknob. Do not lock this door. Now there's duct tape and a sign. Okay. And on the outside, I put another sign right above the doorknob. Thank you, Bianca. And then I put another one it's probably a little higher than it was a little taller than me because I'm short. I put it a little higher, right?
Than you.
So this is what I did on the first floor and the third floor because it's a triplex. The second floor actually has somebody staying there, so I couldn't do that on there with the duct tape. But I put a bigger sign on this door in Sharpie that says, do not, and I put not in all capitals with black lines under it, lock this door. At 5:03 last night, my phone rings, and I answer said phone to find an agent on the other side, and he says to me, "Hey, Carol, I got a weird question for you." I was like, "Ooh, I like weird questions. What you got?" He says, "While I may be standing here looking at a 3x5 sign that says, do not lock this door, I am curious if you have a key."
They locked the door.
Are you kidding me? I just burst out laughing. I said, you're kidding, right? He's like, "I wish I was." And he's like, "I see that you have done everything you could possibly do. Like there are notes everywhere. There's text messages going out. It's in the listing instructions. It's in the showing time. Like I did everything but put it on a Post-it and go out to the agent and stick it here. Okay.
Yeah.
I've done everything but that." And they locked that door. So dear new agents, it's not that difficult to just take a moment to read. I promise it would make your life easier as the buyer's agent because information that you're getting frustrated you can't get may have been provided if you simply take a moment to read. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, and I was like, "I'm very sorry to your buyer." Right. I said that to the agent. I was like, "I'm sorry to your buyer. I will have the door open by tomorrow," because this is like 5:00 last night. "I'll have the door open by tomorrow if your buyer wants to come back and see that unit," and I just explained the condition, but I was just like, "You gotta be kidding me." So
Did they at least schedule another showing?
not yet. So he might not have been interested, and that's okay. Right. But I'm hoping it wasn't because the door was locked.
I know. Yeah. I hope not.
But some people can come back.
Yeah, for sure.
know?
Yeah. Work schedules, or they just make a decision on a different property. That happened to me. I was out. Yeah, I was out showing the property and the lock was just broken. And it just showed me that the listing agent was just really super disconnected from the property. She had no idea. I'm like, "When was the last time this property was shown? When was the last time you've been out here?" I'm thinking to myself.
Right.
But it just did not, like the key and the lock, they did not work. So, I was out showing my buyer, a couple of properties in the neighborhood. It was a 55 over, and my buyer never got to see that one, but she made a decision that day on a different property in that community. So
exactly.
Stuff like that happens, so that's why it's really important.
But I have found like Carol, and I was telling her, I have found that I have to label on all of my listings, all of the freaking doors and the lockbox. Like, make sure this door, in my case, I wanted them to lock it. And sure enough, I show up one day and all the freaking doors are open. And I'm like, and the window. And I'm like, what the
Yeah.
hell?
Yeah.
Listen,
And in one of my properties that I had, the neighbor actually called the cops thinking somebody had broken in because it was windy and the door was unlocked and it swung right open.
Oh,
He
gosh.
thought somebody was in there and he called me after having called the cops, and I had to deal with that whole situation. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
yep, yep.
I think a lot too has to do with the not just the quality of newer agents or lack of them reading specific information, but not understanding the perspective of being a homeowner themselves and how would they feel if they had their home listed on the market, happened to not have their license and had to put all of their trust into strangers coming through their house. Like what how would they feel about the situation? And so like I just think that they need to think about that just a little bit more, before just haphazardly even getting their license. That's the first thing you need to think about is what does it feel like to be a homeowner, So yeah. So what about you, Bianca? What do you got? Things
See,
that no one ever told you.
the things they didn't tell us. The thing I think is the most important for people to know is that this is one of the only professions where you are a business owner,
Yep.
you know, and you're expected to jump in without any capital. They don't, you
Yeah.
open a restaurant, you need capital. You're going to have a landscaping business. Well, you need a truck, you need a lawnmower, you need equipment. You're going to open a nail salon, you need chairs, you need, stuff. We're expected to jump in and not have any money put aside. And Lord knows between the classes, God forbid, and all of the licensing fees and all that stuff, right? And God forbid you have like a rent, a mortgage, then you need business cards, signs, flyers, and you don't get a paycheck sometimes for months and months and months. So people got to realize that, you are going to be owning your own business. You need to come into this industry with that mindset and you need to really prepare for that. Just like any other business, make a business plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
so with
Yeah.
the business plan, I would like to interject that in making your business plan, coming into real estate, I think one of the things new agents should try to understand is that nobody's going to hand it to you on a silver platter. You 100% have to put the work in. It's nobody's responsible to answer your questions but you. It is your responsibility to find the answer. It is nobody's responsibility to provide it. And I think that's the disconnect, right? Because we're conditioned to have a manager, like somebody's always the boss, right? But when you transition to being a realtor, there's no, you're the boss. The buck stops here. So if you have a question, it's nobody's responsibility to answer it but you. And so you better learn how to you want to be a successful realtor, you better learn how to be successfully resourceful, right? Somebody told me
Yeah.
a long time ago, you don't have to know everything. You just have to know where to find the answers.
That's right.
That's it. That's all you got to know. In real estate, you don't have to know anything. Should you? Of course, you're going to, that's another topic, but you don't generally have to know anything. You just got to know where to find the answers. I don't have to walk around knowing, the history of 123 Main Street. But if I have a client interested in 123 Main Street, I know exactly where to go to find that information.
Yeah.
So it's the same premise. And you're going to
Yeah.
have a lot of questions. You're going to have questions you don't even realize you're going to have. You better learn how to be resourceful and prospecting.
Yeah. Well, that kind of goes into my next one is thinking about like leads or conversations. That's what I think a new agent also has to think about because you read on, or at least I know I do. I read on like the Facebook groups and all this and agents are like, what brokerage should I join where I'm going to get a lot of good
All the
leads?
silly questions. Here's what
Yeah.
I'd
Well,
say. Here's what
you
I'd
want
say.
go ahead.
To that, here's my
Yeah.
answer. And nobody's going to like this answer. None of that matters.
Yeah.
None of it matters. Stop worrying about it. It does not matter. Okay. The only thing that matters when you very first get your license is prospecting.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
until you have a client, none of this matters.
Yep.
And you can get the answers to all those questions once you have the first client.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, you better be prospecting. You better figure out how to find that first client. You better figure out how to have real estate conversations as quickly as possible.
Your job as a new agent is to have conversations with
That's
as
right.
many people as
Yeah.
possible because then you're
Facts.
going to find that person who wants to sell, buy, invest. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. They say there's a magic number like of conversations to have each day. Like, so if you're making like 200 calls, there's a magic number. Yeah. It's 27.
I think it was like 20, 25-ish.
Is that what it
20,
was?
Yeah.
20, 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
27 is the number I
A
always get.
day.
27 a day. Yeah. If you have 27 conversations a day, you're making 6 figures a year.
Yeah.
27 conversations about real estate. Well, it doesn't matter if it's the toll booth person, if it's somebody at the supermarket,
Right.
or if it's a cold call,
Right.
you know, or if it's a lead that comes through because you pay for it. It doesn't really matter. But what matters is that you're having 27 conversations a day. So that's something for new agent. That's a lot of people. 27 doesn't sound like a big number. And so you're actually trying to have 27 conversations a day about real estate.
Until you get like 350 like wrong numbers that you have to dial.
Right, exactly.
And then you realize.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
27 conversations a day isn't hard if you're prospecting.
Correct. Yeah. If you're prospecting, it's not hard.
Don't be scaring these new people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not as hard as you think once you pick the phone up or you start door knocking.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
27 conversations is going to fly in a blink of an eye.
But some people, Carol, want to have make 27 phone calls, like when they're new. You know, like they don't realize that prospecting means that you might be making 200 phone calls in a day to get those 27 conversations.
Okay.
But
so
I
let me
think
say this then.
the more important thing is, one more thing, the more important thing is that you're not setting a number for how many calls you're making. You should set your number and how many conversations you've had. If you've had 27, so hear me out. Hear me out.
Nope. We disagree
okay,
100%.
All right. Well, disagree after I'm done. You can have, if you set out, I've heard big people talk about this, like big people who are actually can prove like this theory correct. If you set out to have, let's say your magic number is 27 conversations, you're not going to stop making calls until you've had 27 conversations a day. In that day, you might get 27 conversations your first 30 minutes, and then you can sit back on and do whatever it is that you're doing. Hear me out. But if it takes you 3 hours, maybe another day it's going to take you 5 hours to have those 27 conversations because nobody's picking up. You know, like you're getting all kinds of wrong numbers. It is not going to necessarily take you 30 minutes, but you may luck out on one particular day. You can call it a day. But I guarantee you, Carol, it's probably not going to take somebody 30 minutes. And I'm not making this number up or this information up. This is proven facts right here.
Well, Carol.
Okay. So let's talk about proven facts then, rather than anything, because I'm of the opinion that you never track what you can't control, right? So
you can't control that.
No. Now I let you. Now, okay. You never track. No, you never track.
It might take 8 hours, but you can control it.
Hear me out now. And no, you don't. You never put yourself in a position to have to track what you can't control. I can't control how many people will answer the phone today, but I can control how many dials I do. So for me, my proven fact is that I made 100 cold calls a day every week, Monday through Friday, and I did 18 transactions in my first year. So that's a proven fact. And I didn't have a dialer the whole year because remember, I was broke. So I had to finger hoof. Yeah, that's right. I dialed 100 numbers a day and it took like an hour and a half. And then I finally got a dialer and then it took an hour. So if you can't stop and jump on the phone for an hour a day, you're full of excuses and this is the wrong career for you. And I'm not even trying to be mean. I'm trying to save you a couple $1,000s.
I have another fact. And
Fun fact.
I think you're both right. And the secret to success here is consistency, whether it's 27 conversations, whether it's 100 dials, whether it's I only have 3 hours and I'm going to dedicate those 3 hours because in reality, I've done it. 27 conversations is not going to take you 30 minutes ever.
No, probably not.
No.
It's probably going to take more like 3 hours minimum.
I've had days where nobody answered the phone. And so those 27 conversations were not as easy. And I'm not saying you don't have to have 27 conversations. What I'm saying is don't set yourself up for being disappointed with yourself by setting a goal that you cannot control the outcome of. Okay. If you have a bad day and people aren't answering the phone and you didn't have those 27 conversations, you didn't hit your goals today. And then that can make you feel bad. But if you say, no, I'm going to make 100 dials, even if that means I have 40 conversations, then at least you controlled what you could control if you didn't have the 27 conversations.
So I just want to share the data or the fact that theory came from. I thought you were going to ask that, Carol. I was all prepared.
Well, no, because my facts come from my own results. You know what I mean? Yeah. I ain't working on somebody else's, information.
Yeah.
This is fact I can say I did myself.
But my team also based their prospecting. I have one particular team member who based their prospecting on this particular fact that I provided that I heard from someone else. Okay. So the someone else that I heard it from was actually this football player named Quintavious. Yep. You remember this?
Yep, of course. We all did it. We did the point system.
Was he the one in like Alabama or Georgia somewhere?
I don't remember. Yeah, the point system came from him, Carol.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he would say, he said that if he didn't have X amount of conversations is what he called it. If he didn't have X amount of conversations, his day was not done. And then he did. He created a point system to equate to like how many conversations he had,
what each conversation was worth point-wise, too.
Right, what each conversation was worth point-wise. And then once he had X amount of points, and we tweaked it to fit our team structure a little bit differently because Carol and I went back and forth and what was maybe realistic, a little bit more realistic for newer agents or just trying to tweak it thinking outside the box because Carol's awesome at thinking outside the box and coming up with something different, right? So we tweaked it to make it our own for our team. But this agent who was brand new and was a football player, although he was just in like minor leagues, he did do 100 deals his first year just by having that rule of thumb of having 27 conversations a day. And he would make calls. He'd go out to the supermarket. He'd talk to people at the grocery store. Like he didn't rely just on one source for those conversations. He
was a football player. So he had access to a pool of people that normal people don't have access to. So
he didn't, Carol. He moved to a new area. But you gotta watch his thing.
I mean, I don't care what that man's opinion is. I'm telling you from an outsider looking in, you have somebody who was a football player that gives him access to a league of people that we commoners don't have access to. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I agree.
I'm not saying the 27 conversations ain't legit. Okay. Jesus, Miss Defensive tonight. What is going on?
Who, for example, I know of somebody who was like on that, what is it called? The video sharing thing, Bomb or something. She was like a TV anchor. And then all of a sudden she became like a top realtor of course, right. Everybody knows your face. Okay.
Yeah.
But like the average person, I get your point, Carol.
Yeah.
But the point is, I think he also was, because he was a pro athlete or semi-pro athlete, whatever, he was very disciplined. So it all comes back to consistency and discipline. And what we've seen time and time again, no matter who it is, whoever's disciplined and keeps at it time again is the one who's going to be successful.
100%. That discipline is what got him probably really far. And that's what will get any new agent really far in the business.
And I see a whole lot of new agents doing this and that and doing the things and the business cards and the TikToks and they're not doing any deals because they're not having those conversations. They're not.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. As a new agent,
they need to do more of less, but they need to do those things well. Pick a few things, try them for a few months, and you got to get consistency, and then you'll have momentum. And then, you get one wheel spinning, then you add another, and then you just keep going from there.
Yep. No, for sure. And then what about like conversions now? How does that play into it for new agents, do you think?
Conversions of what?
Of the conversations that you have.
Well, I did 18 my first year. How many did you do your first year?
22.
How many did you do your first year? Okay, so that's fine. But like 27 because here's what people need to understand.
I would say 8.
Bianca, you did 8?
8.
Okay, so just for people who don't know, for Bianca's like a luxury agent. She doesn't deal in commoner price points like me and Paula do. So her 8 financially is the equivalent of our 20, which is
correct. Yeah.
Oh, we do all price points.
We love her. She does do all price points. She's not snobby. I'm just saying generally. She's one of, she moves in different circles. Anyway, we all had a great first year, and that was because of the conversations that we have. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really want to be a successful agent, you have to learn the conversations and you have to prospect. And that has to be your top priority. That is your number one job when you first come into real estate. There's a lot of things you're going to have questions about. And I'm not saying that they won't be important at some point, those questions, but I would advise any new agent, take those questions and put them on a piece of paper. Revisit that question after you've prospect for 2 weeks and see if you didn't find the answer yourself. You'd be surprised how many answers you find in the prospecting.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you because the younger generation seems more attached to their phone and not as comfortable with the face-to-face conversation. I feel like they're not as articulate. So how do you think they're going to do in this industry if they are not used to face-to-face conversations, having difficult conversations?
Well,
I don't
I
know.
think you've got a that's like double-sided in my opinion, because for every person in a younger generation that doesn't like talking to people and they want to be on electronics, you're a younger person who's looking to purchase or sell a property that doesn't want to have to worry about that. I think the problem is, even in that scenario, you have to be able to communicate and articulate yourself. And so I don't think those two things go together. If you're one of those people who has self-diagnosed as having anxiety simply because you missed important life lessons in your youth, this is probably not the career path for you.
Okay, but you mentioned the buyer who like maybe doesn't want to have to deal with that. Maybe they want to buy just like seeing online and all of
No.
that stuff. But then it comes down to like, do you trust your agent to get you through the process? I think that's very different than searching for a home. I think searching for a home can be replaced by technology, but I don't think the other services that we offer, for example,
Well,
getting
here's
them.
the thing. You can replace certain aspects of this purchase with, sorry, I'm actually working. I'm actually working over here.
Carol.
I'm like literally working. You listen, if you want to be an agent, you're going to have to learn how to communicate. If you don't know how to communicate and your communication is trash, you are going to fail. You are going to fail. Do not lie to yourself that you're special. You're not special. You're not going to be able to do what the rest of the world can't do. Because here's the deal. You can have the biggest, longest checklist in the world. It can run the length of a room. It does not matter, because until you walk into the house that is your house, it doesn't matter. And everything on that checklist can go right out the window once you walk into the right house, because buying a house at the end of the day is an emotional purchase. And I can't tell you how many clients have given me the, I'm not doing it without this. And guess what? They bought that shit without that. Why? Because it was the right house in the right place. And they knew it was a change they could make during the course of ownership and make the house their own anyway. So if you think that you're special and you're going to show everybody how wrong we are, I promise you all you're doing is wasting your money and your time, because those of us that are out here successful will never have to worry about you being one of our competition or competitors. Just saying. I'm not even trying to be rude. I'm just saying. And I don't want to discourage. Here's the thing. I don't want to discourage anybody who wants to be a realtor. I think everybody who wants to do this should do this, because not everybody wants to do it. Helping the public in this type of a capacity comes with its challenges and its hurdles. And if you can't even communicate, you've lost the war before you've even gotten to the battle. There is so much that we communicate on a daily basis. Think about it. When you have 2, 3 transactions under contract, you can't be a successful agent if you don't know how to communicate. You are on the phone all day.
And dealing with issues, problem
All day.
solving.
All
I
day.
mean, having difficult conversations. If you can't have a
Okay.
simple conversation, imagine trying to convince a homeowner that they have to that they have to lower the price. And, they were really married to a certain price and they have to lower it because that's what the market is telling us. Or imagine having to tell a seller that their house is on fire.
Right. Exactly. Listen,
True
that's
story.
case in point right there. That is case in point. Imagine that conversation and you're like self-diagnosed full of anxiety. Listen, man, I think that we have a portion of the population at this point that is self-diagnosing themselves with all these ridiculous things. And what they really have is a lack of life lessons.
Yeah.
These parents are sheltering these kids, and these kids aren't having these important developmental lessons as they're growing up. There's a reason that you crawl before you walk. There's a reason that you know what I mean? Like, there's a process. And there are things in childhood that make us ready for adulthood. And when you miss certain lessons, you don't know how to process things. Well, that's because you didn't So now you have to have this lesson as an adult. Well, now you have the option of not having that lesson simply by sidestepping it. And you don't
Yeah,
even understand on the other side of that hard whatever you have self-diagnosed for is your entire future waiting for you to arrive.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, the younger generation is not comfortable with discomfort.
And that's really unfortunate
They
because
have been shielded. They
they
try to,
everything.
like anything, like remove all stress factors. And that's really a disservice to them
Huge.
because life is stressful.
Yep.
It's going to come and
Sure
find
is.
you. If you want to do anything great, then you have to, you have to climb that mountain.
Yeah. And you
You
really
have to
need
climb that
to
mountain.
you have to
Yeah.
learn how to you have to learn how to process your emotions, because we all have big emotions, right? Here's the listen, we all have big emotions. You are not special. Okay? Like I'm so sick of people being like, "Oh, well, you don't understand." We all understand. Everybody understands. You are not special. Every adult is dealing with the same issues you are dealing with. The only difference is some of us dealt with it when we were 17 and you just still haven't dealt with it yet. You're not special. There's nothing special about your human experience that differs it from everybody else's. We all have life lessons, okay? And you may have your life lessons given to you through a rough childhood, and you may have your life lessons given to you through, you know, having a silver spoon and having to deal with whatever comes with that. I don't know what yours are, but at the end of the day, every human has the same experience on the underline. You have to learn how to process your emotions and become a good person. At the end of the day, we all have that, right?
Yeah.
So that is a human lesson that we all have to learn. And these children today are being pulled away from those lessons. And that's not, these kids are having full on meltdowns and they're hitting their teachers because their phone got taken away and they're stealing mom's car and driving down the highway and smashing into things. And, we're unaliving our parents because we had our phone taken away. Like, like these children don't know how to process anything.
Yeah. Okay. This is making me depressed. Paula, do you have anything? What they didn't tell you?
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say my CRM. I wish that I had organized, structured, and taken my CRM a little bit more seriously right from the start because I was all over the place with it as a new agent.
Right.
It wasn't, I didn't have it set up right for my drip campaigns. I didn't have a really good, solid understanding of all that and how it works and how it could really, truly help my business. So I think that a new agent, before they start meddling with it, they need to really understand what that tool actually is, what it's going to do for your business, and how it works before you just start setting it up. Otherwise, you've got leads in all different categories and then trying to clean it up is a big mess, which is what I had to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, your CRM is everything. And there's plenty of YouTube videos. Like, dear new agents, please find yourself YouTube videos. There are so many of them out there
YouTube
by so many
University.
different creators. You can definitely find a creator that you're comfortable with and learn how to work your CRM. Because right now, here's one of the things I couldn't stand as a new agent. You gotta like work your sphere. What a douchebag thing to say. You gotta work your sphere. What does that even mean to a new agent? Like they're like, oh well, you gotta
Like,
you gotta prospect with the people you know. Well, not everybody I know wants to buy or sell a house right now. Like that is the craziest answer. No, what you need to do is you need to start cold calling or you need to start door knocking and start having real estate conversations and real prospecting. Work your sphere does come into play, I do believe, around year 4, right? Around year 4. So the minute you start having clients and people that you've had real estate conversations with and you have their contact information, that is now your sphere, right? So, but when you're new, you don't have a sphere. So people saying that to you and you standing there looking confused, please understand for somebody somewhere along the line thought that was a good response and it just became like the
well,
baseline. Leads are good leads. So there are pay sources that are going to approach new agents. You're going to get calls and you should try this and don't try none of that. Don't waste your money. Do not waste your
Let me,
money on
yeah,
that market leader and all that. What a
let me,
waste of time, energy, and effort.
let
So
me, can
it's
I
not,
rephrase?
it's not everything. You can't just do whatever lead
Yeah.
works for you. Like you're going to want to look at your lead sources and make sure that you're not just buying dead leads because there are, you know what I mean? And it absolutely. So for me, that's why cold calling was the better option because I dumped
Right.
money into those lead sources. And listen, I came out of the car business. I know how to work a lead and none of them turned into anything. No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So Yeah. So I was thinking, so some agents, will say or share, like agents that I know personally have shared that they've gotten all of their business. Let me not say leads. All of their business has come 100% from social media.
Mhm.
That's just, however many agents that is. There are some agents that work social media really well, that know how to do it consistently, and get their business from that.
And that's good. That's good for them.
Kudos to them, right?
Hey,
Some agents.
so I've gotten business from my social media. Have you?
Yes, I've gotten my first buyer
Bianca?
appointment, actually.
Right, from social media. Bianca?
But you know what?
I have have had people then reach out to me, but not strangers, I would say.
So actually, I'm sorry. I said I have my first appointment, but I have gotten indirect business. And what I mean by that is I've gotten a lot, not a ton, a lot of referral business from social media. So agents that didn't know me personally sent me referrals because they followed me on social media and watched my content. And that is where the bulk of my social media business came from.
Okay.
But I feel like you both have a bigger presence on social media than I do, because you're also on
Right.
TikTok, and you have over the years done more lives and just have like a more of a social media presence. That's the one thing that I don't have time for.
Yeah. But again, this is what I'm saying. It's not, I'm just saying if you break up lead generation sources into categories, you've got social media, you've got door knocking, you've got cold calling, you've got sphere of influence, you've got open houses, you've got mailed marketing, you have, I don't know,
Just all the things, right?
Google ads, you've got all the things, right? And all I'm saying is you buy leads, whatever it is. All I'm saying is you are going to pick whatever it is that you are doing, whether it's one of those things or 5 of those things, and you're going to do one or all of them consistently.
Okay. I can live with that.
That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line. I did do it consistently. That was the thing, right? These people need to understand how much time we spent on our first year together on Zoom working.
Yeah, making calls with
At 11 o'clock at night. I mean, Paula came into one meeting. She had hair dye on. Like, I said to her, right, that is the level of I don't care that I want to achieve.
Hence why I can go on Instagram and with my face all jacked up after a procedure and be on there.
Yeah.
I was just like, literal hair
remember,
dye.
I was like the scaredest person on earth ever to cold call. And I was on with these monsters who were like amazing.
Just pounding out calls.
And I was there, and like Carol had pity on me. She'd be like, "Oh, you are so cute."
I remember that.
And I was over here, like my face would get red, and like my armpits would get like all sweaty. And I was on the phone, and my freaking armpits were all sweaty. Look at Carol's cracking up. She can't hold back. She pitied me. Oh my God. So if I could do it,
girl, because that was the true anxiety right there. She was a mess on the phone. I used to feel bad.
It was a mess on the phone.
Like, I felt like I needed to have 911 on speed dial on a different phone to send to your house. That was so funny. That was so
Carol, remember the days when I would be in my hammock cold calling?
Oh my God.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
And we sent you, do you still have the hammock under your desk for your feet that we sent you?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I know I don't have it. I don't know what happened to it. I moved, but yeah, I had that. Carol or somebody got it for me for my birthday.
Paula, sorry to steal your spiel.
Yeah, go ahead.
We all met on a cold calling challenge.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was cold calling challenge, right?
Yeah.
So we did a cold calling challenge together, and then we did a door knocking challenge, right? Or did we all do it?
It was, because you know who was my door knocking partner was Brett.
Okay. Brett Voorhees down in Jupiter?
Yeah. He was my video partner.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we did 3 challenges together, right? We did the door knocking, we did the cold calling, and we did the video.
Partner.
He was my video partner.
Yeah.
Him and I made a pact that we sent each other a 30-second video every morning. Right. And we did that through the entire challenge. And it just helped us get better with video and all that. Yeah. That's how we all met in a coaching group, learning how to learning how to be realtors.
You know what I'm feeling here, ladies? I'm feeling a property lounge ladies challenge of some sort.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Totally.
We could do that.
We should create one for newer agents as some time goes by.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. If you're a new agent and you're listening to this, write I don't know how it works, but leave a comment, review or something saying that you want that, and Yeah, we'll make it happen.
We'll figure something out.
Yo,
Yeah.
I saw a video of this lady. She's a newer agent. I guess a newer agent, and she was talking about how she went, talk about being out of your element. She's talking about how she went on this listing appointment and the sellers had $1.8 million in equity. And she started lecturing these people about how they don't need to sell their house. They should be keeping their house and they need to take a home equity loan and then reinvest. Do it. And she had, and I'm over, like, I still keep thinking about that. So, newer agents, let me tell you something. You need to learn your lane and stay in your lane, right? Because if anybody that you're talking to has $1.8 million in equity in their home, they have a financial advisor on speed dial number 1, and they have their attorney on speed dial number 2. You weren't brought in for financial advice.
Right.
You were brought in because the professionals they pay to give them financial advice told them it was time to sell the house. You kind of need to stay in your lane.
Yeah.
And then when I was talking to this girl, she's like, well, I have a fiduciary responsibility. Ma'am, first of all, you should go look up what that means. And then you need to go look up what a realtor does and understand that your fiduciary responsibility applies to realtors' work, not financial advisor work. But I mean, just do you know how out of your element you have to be to lecture somebody with 1.8 and think that and those people probably sat there because, generally rich people are pretty polite, right? They probably sat there the whole time. I guarantee if it was me, I'm asking questions because I'm amused and I'm going to laugh at you for months, right? So I need more things because, girl, who do you think you are coming in? Like, do you have $1.8 million in equity? No, you're the realtor, okay? With your cheap shoes. You should have seen what she was wearing with your cheap shoes.
Oh my
And you're going to
God.
come in here and tell me with $1.8 million what I need to be doing? Girl, you're driving a Chevy, okay? Let's
Yeah.
get it together. And so I guarantee you they were sitting there, and when she left, they laughed at her. They were
Yeah.
like, the audacity of this person to come in here. Like, we would, and then they're like, well, Frank's my financial advisor. That's who and he told me to sell the house. Who does this woman think she is? And what did they do? They called the next realtor on the list. I bet you within 2 weeks that property was listed for sale because people in that position in life, they don't take their financial advice from the realtor. And I'm a realtor. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to put us down. I think what we do is amazing in the world. But I also think that we need to stay in our lane. New agents, you stay in your lane. You're not a financial advisor. You're not a home inspector. You're not an attorney. You're not a title clerk. You're none of these things. You are a realtor. Your job is to help your client facilitate the purchase or the sale of their property.
Oh my God, but the shit we do for our clients, I mean, we do so much more than that at the same time.
Please,
So,
please. I've been in
but
crawl
yeah,
spaces.
please stay in your lane. Once you have the listing, then you could put all the other hats on.
Right.
That,
But I mean, like, stay in your lane. Like, I've been in crawl spaces. Listen, I've been in crawl spaces. I 100% have been. Have the things you will do for a client. But that doesn't mean I never give them financial advice.
you've bought a new pair of shoes. I remember.
My God.
You
Okay.
had
How
to
about
go.
that? I had a client. Listen, this was crazy. I had a client who was selling a property that was in his name and his brother's name. Easy peasy, right? No. The brother's in jail. He is an incarcerated individual. So I had to go up to the prison to get some documents signed. And I get to the prison, right? And it's like 100 degrees
I'm
outside. And
sorry.
they go,
This is so
you
funny.
can't wear
You're like,
sandals.
I
I
go
mean,
to the
there you go. Talk about being out of your element, right? I don't know that. I'm up there in sandals, right? No, you got it. You can't have on sandals. So I went to the store, which was like 2 minutes away, bought a pair of shoes that I never wore again. They're downstairs because I just don't want to throw them out because I only wore them once and I'm never going to wear them again. And I had to go back in the other shoes because I had on sandals. I didn't know. So yeah, there you go. That's on being out of your element, right?
hilarious.
So I had to go up to this prison and get these papers taken care of, which I ended up, it was a long story, but these are the situations you're going to run into as a realtor. And so it's important to stay in your lane and worry about yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I
True
mean?
that.
Because you will do things for your clients.
Well, the other thing is that I think unlike, going to any other service that you get, like you go get a massage, you pay before you exit, right? We don't get our paycheck till everything's said and done, till the seller or the buyer, till the checks are written and everything is closed. And so that could go on for months and months. And there's also no guarantee that we're ever going to get paid. So that's kind of crazy.
And don't let that, like, I'm going to say this, don't let that scare you. Like, if you're really good and you're dedicated, you're going to make money.
Well, the thing is,
You know,
it's going to happen. It's going to happen eventually. It's going to happen to the best of us. It's going to happen no matter what.
It's
And
part
you
of the
can't
process.
foresee it.
Yep.
And you
You are
can't do it.
100%.
And,
You are going to have transactions fall apart. There's nothing you can do about that.
nothing you
But
can do
here's the
about it.
thing. You want transactions to fall apart because it's a numbers game. It's Statistically, it has to happen. It has to happen. If it didn't happen, if you don't have deals falling apart, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
You're doing it wrong. So, I would say I was never afraid of the transactions falling apart. Although it wasn't fun during COVID, because when COVID hit, I literally had 7 transactions that were supposed to close in within the next 30 days, and they all blew up. Remember that? I was like,
Yep,
maybe
I
it was
do.
5. Maybe it was 5. Anyway, it was more than 4. Yeah, and they all blew up. So you just have to know that that's going to be part of the process and be braced for it. Like, be ready for it. Be smart with your money. Make sure you're ready for it because it's coming. It's part of the process. It's part of your new career. Your
And then
career.
we
Let me
have
tell you what your career path comes with. Your career path comes with doing work that you're not going to get paid for, and that's okay. Your career path comes with working with other agents who are as rude as you can be rude, and that's okay. Your career is going to come with some creepy clients that may or may not walk around with pictures of you glued to things, okay? That's okay. Because past all of that, you are successfully helping the 20 other families sell a home, buy a home, literally move to the next chapter of their life. And it is very fulfilling, right? So yes, your career comes with its hurdles, and there are times it's going to be overwhelming, and there are times you're going to have agents talk to you like you're a 2-year-old. You just have to learn how to have those hard conversations so that it's easier to deal with it when it happens. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And then you're gonna have broke agent problems, and then you're gonna have successful agent problems.
And those are 2 different sets of problems 100% because we're having successful people problems now, and it's like the other day, my phone was ringing and ringing and ringing and wouldn't stop ringing. And I was so upset. I'm like, I just need a break. And then I thought to myself, girl, get it together because this is successful people problems. So you just got to keep them in perspective, right? Because then it's not a problem. It's life, right? This is the life I chose. It's just funny.
Yeah.
Ladies, we've been on for about 47 minutes.
Time to
So
go.
yeah.